You know that feeling when you look back at a photograph from about 10 years ago and your first thought is not, oh, I looked well, but something more like, when did that happen? And why did no one warn me it was going to happen quite so quickly? There is a version of me from a decade ago who would have genuinely laughed at the idea that the small stuff matters, that the boring, daily choices were quietly stacking up, one on top of the other, like some kind of invisible invoice. I did not take the invoice seriously. It arrived anyway. My name is John. I am in my mid-40s, husband, father of 2 boys who are currently at an age where they believe cereal is an acceptable dinner and that the word tidy does not apply to them personally. I started this channel because I kept finding things out about 15 years later than I should have, and I thought, well, if I can get any of this into their heads before they have to learn it the hard way, that would be something. So I talk about the stuff nobody really sat me down and explained, the unglamorous, obvious in hindsight stuff. And today's is one I wish someone had nailed to the wall above my teenage bedroom. Probably would have taken it down, if I am being honest. But still. Here is the thing about small decisions. They do not feel like much. That is the whole problem. You make them, nothing changes. You make them again, still nothing changes. And after about 3 weeks of nothing changing, most people stop making them. What nobody tells you is that the change is happening. It is just doing it slowly, underground, where you cannot see it. And then one day, years later, you surface and the landscape is completely different. And it looks like it happened overnight. It did not. You just were not watching. I want to talk about this properly because it shows up everywhere. Not just money, although yes, money too. Fitness, confidence, relationships, the way you feel when you wake up in the morning. All of it runs on the same engine. Small inputs, repeated consistently, over a long enough period. That is it. That is the whole thing. Boring to say, I know. Stick with me. Most of the gap is just time. Think about fitness for a moment. Not because I am some sort of enthusiast, I genuinely am not. I am the man who stood in a sports shop for 20 minutes holding a foam roller, put it back on the shelf, went home, and told himself he would come back for it when he was more committed. That was 4 years ago. The point is, I spent most of my 30s doing nothing consistently. I would do an intense burst of activity every few months, feel very righteous about it for about 2 weeks, and then find myself back on the sofa on a Tuesday night eating things I cannot justify. And I stayed roughly the same, year after year. Not worse, not better, just the same. Then I started doing something smaller, walking, properly walking, not to the car, but out in the evening for about 30 minutes. Nothing dramatic, no kit, no app with a motivational voice telling me I was doing brilliantly, just out and back. And for the first 2 months, I will tell you honestly, nothing happened. I felt mildly better, maybe. The scales did not move, my trousers did not fit differently, and every part of my brain was saying, this is pointless. You should have got the foam roller and done something serious. But here is the thing. 6 months in, something had shifted. Not dramatically, not in a way that warranted a before and after photograph, but something. Energy in the morning. A bit clearer in the head. A bit less like I was running on the wrong kind of fuel. And I had not done anything spectacular. I had just gone out and walked, over and over, quietly, without applause, into the dark at 8:30 on a Tuesday. That is the early phase. It looks completely unimpressive, which is of course exactly why most people stop before anything actually happens. And now compare that with the gym burst. The one where I paid for the membership in January, went 4 times that first week because I was a man with a plan and a new water bottle. Felt absolutely destroyed by Thursday, skipped Friday, thought I would restart Monday, and was basically done by the end of the month. The gym bag eventually migrated to the boot of the car, where it sat, still zipped up, judging me every time I needed the de-icer. The intensity was far higher than the walk. The sustainability was approximately 0. Intensity without consistency is just noise. And this works with money too. I am not going to give you numbers because I am not a financial advisor, And also because I have never once in my life sat down and actually run the numbers, which is a whole other video. But I remember very clearly the moment someone tried to explain compounding to me when I was about 23. I was standing in a bank in a branch that smelled faintly of carpet cleaner, and the bloke on the other side of the desk was saying, even a small amount put away regularly over 20 years, and I was nodding like I understood, and also like I cared, which I did not, because I was 23, and 20 years might as well have been a geological epoch. So I did nothing, for quite a long time, and every year that I did nothing was a year of compound growth I just did not get. There is no dramatic story there. It is just absence, just gap, just a very long blank line where something useful could have been quietly building itself. The version of me who started something small at 23 would have been in a meaningfully different position by the time he was 40. Not rich, not on a yacht, just more options, a bit more breathing room. The difference between having a choice and not having one. That is what the early years are actually for. And nobody really tells you that at the time. Now here is the part that people do not always think about. It is not just the good things that compound. The small, bad choices do it too. Drift compounds. The afternoon biscuit that became the afternoon biscuit and something else. The night where you stayed up until 1 because you were scrolling and not really even enjoying it. And then the next night, and the next, until you genuinely cannot remember the last time you went to bed before midnight and woke up feeling like a human being. The sharp word you said to your partner when you were tired, that became a pattern neither of you properly noticed until the silence between you got a little wider. None of those things feel like decisions at the time. They feel like just what you do, which is exactly when they are most dangerous, because you are making a choice. You are just not registering it as one. I look back at some of that drift in my own life, and the slightly uncomfortable truth is that I cannot point to the moment it started. There was no moment. It was just one small thing, then another, building quietly in a direction I had not chosen and was not paying attention to. That is what drift does. It moves you without your permission, because you have accidentally given it permission by not deciding anything else. And that is not a comfortable thing to say, but there it is. Drift is still a decision. The bit that gives me actual hope, though, and I mean that without performing it, is that the same engine runs in both directions. You do not need a big dramatic moment to start turning things around. You do not need a crisis or a wake-up call or a life coach and a new journal. You just need to pick one small thing and do it again tomorrow. I think about my boys and I think, right, what do I actually want them to understand before they go and learn it the hard way? And it is not about working hard, exactly. It is not about being disciplined in some monk-like, miserable, no-fun way. It is more like, just be consistent with the small things, the things that seem too boring and too small to matter, because those are the ones that actually do. Walk when you said you would walk. Put the money away before you think about spending it. Call the person when you said you would. Go to bed at a sensible time instead of watching another episode of something you are not even that interested in. Read a bit, regularly, even 10 minutes on the bus. These things feel almost embarrassingly small. They feel like they cannot possibly be enough. And for a while, they will not look like enough. Then one day you will look up and see someone who has been doing the same things you have not been doing, and they will seem somehow further ahead, more settled, clearer. And you will spend a moment wondering what happened for them. And the honest answer is, nothing happened. They just kept going when it looked like nothing was happening. The biscuit is fine occasionally. The late night is fine occasionally. The skipped walk is fine. I am not describing a life of joyless optimization, because that sounds absolutely dreadful, and I would not do it. I just mean, notice the drift, that is all. Just notice it. Because once you can see it, you can choose something different. And that choice, made again and again and again, in ordinary situations, in kitchens and car parks and slightly cold bedrooms at 7 in the morning, that is what compounds. If I had understood this at 23, standing in that bank branch with its carpet cleaner smell, not really listening to what the man was telling me, I would have made a few different choices. Nothing dramatic, just a few small things repeated. Starting then instead of much later. The thing is, 23 is brilliant because there is so much time ahead of it. But 45 is not bad either. There is still a lot of road from here. The best time to start was then. The second best time is just to get on with it.